Right. Just a couple of questions. How did it end up becoming a gateway? Was that chosen by the state? And do we have to look at the state chooses or identifies a city as a potential gateway city? Do you have to say yes? If we have just refused this?
The question was, how do we become a gateway city? Well, the answer to that is very simply this. Trying to find the right document here. Basically, it was in April of this year that the mayor signed on, the city planner signed on, and Tom Watkins, the then purchasing agent, signed on. The question was then asked of me when they saw this document, did the council know about this? That was the question. And the answer was, no, we had no clue. A lot of things happen that do not require the approval of the council. And that was one of them, right? And again, there's good and bad to everything here. You just need to be able to control it. And if we can't control it, then we're in trouble. Okay, Jim?
I just wanted to respond to the idea of variance. For example, if the developer wanted to come in for that parcel, oil and, what is it? Break and clutch, not oil and grease. And if they wanted to go higher than what the council had approved, let's say a density of 13, which is in our multifamily districts, there's supposed to be a hardship associated with the request for more density. And the Zoning Board of Appeals has to hear that, and there should be a legitimate basis. If there's not, then the Zoning Board of Appeals should not be approving those changes. So if enough people do show up, or if they can find a lawyer, pro bono, preferably, who knows the law, they can usually prevail, or at least let the Zoning Board of Appeals know that they're taking or going beyond what they're authorized to do. But keep in mind again, the PUD gives the developers and the planning board the authority to vacate any of the restrictions, height, parking, use, that prevails under the zoning that's been approved by the council. And that's what we got to watch out.
There's technicalities too. I mean, like down at the Salem Island Reach site, we said we didn't want anything higher than, I think it was either 3 or 4 stories. Well, they tricked us. The first story was cars, garage. They could put 3 more stories of cars and then still build their allowable 3 or 4. So they'd have a total height of 7. Right? And technically, by Mass General Law, that's absolutely legal. Right? So you need to be real careful how you word all of these things. Kathy?
I looked at the list that was up on the screen of cities that are designated as gateway cities, and I don't feel that Salem is a good fit in there with Lynn and Lawrence and Lowell and Haverhill. Salem's been working on, we've seen a lot of preservation, we've seen a lot of properties upgraded. I moved into Salem in 1971, and it was fairly run down then, and it's come an awfully long way since then. I don't...
Salem has done a lot of wonderful things. And I need to tell you, in as much as I'm not necessarily a fan of the mayor, she's done a lot of wonderful things, all right? And she has, all right? Salem has come up in a lot of wonderful things, and you name it, all right? How do you become a gateway city with that list here? The criteria that the state established was essentially this. We have existing infrastructure. We have water in place. We have sewer in place. We have gas lines in place. We have electrical lines in place. It's a whole lot easier to give us financial incentives. And by the way, that was never mentioned here, I don't think. It's a whole lot easier for the city to get all these financial incentives if we allow the building that should be this high to be this high. All right? So in other words, we can sell our soul to the devil, all right, and have to absorb this so that Wenham can be pure.
So there are obligations to being a gateway city. There are obligations.
Yes.
Yeah, of course there are. Yes.
But when Mike talks about incentives to make housing available, that also means the incentive for the state that if a property is valued at X, that they can come in and pay more for that property. To make that owner, incentivize that owner to sell that property, and then incentivize that developer to create that housing. So the state can use their funding to incentivize those individuals, and then you have the houses.
And it's their people that they select the building. There's only a certain public-private partnership, there's only certain few that can build these things,
Again, it's just a
like Solinda.
clarification.
Did the state approach Salem, or did Salem approach the state to get on that list?
I have no idea. The question was, did Salem approach the state, or did the state approach Salem? And again, I have no idea. And that's the answer. Hold on, Rob was next.
Some really good grant writers.
It seems to me, like, there were a couple of things here that I didn't realize, but it seems like most of what we talked about in the proposed zoning changes is mostly what people want, but it seems to me the problem, from what I understand it, is the plan unit development, which allows a huge deviation from the zoning, and the problem of that the zoning board of appeals may also allow a huge variance from what the zoning says. So it seems like if you took out the plan unit development, and if the council passed an ordinance restricting the appeals board from going beyond 1.5 or 1.25% of whatever density of rules are allowed, it would solve most of everyone's concerns, I think.
That would solve most of the concerns so long as they held their zoning change to, what was it, 150 feet from the center line of Bridge Street, something like that? All right, we don't want them coming all the way down this way with their zone. Essentially, what they wanted to do over there, coming down all the way to Collins Street, is essentially taking that same, changing a residential zone that starts here, just one property back from, what's that, the second-hand store up here. And bringing it all the way down to Scott's house. Where's Scott? Scott here anymore? No, not yours, different Scott. The Scott that lives right across the street. They're bringing it all the way back here on a commercial basis, and that is destroying the neighborhood. That's wrong. It's just flat out wrong. All right? And when you were there when I asked her to stop that, and she said, well, she didn't say yes or no, but the next meeting, it was still there on the map. So essentially, that's telling me, no, we're not going to change that. We're going to bring it all the way down. I'm going to fight that.
And I kind of, just on the point of where that zone should be, I guess my opinion, and it is kind of if you look at what they're proposing now, it's kind of a crazy line. It follows some property lines, it bulges in and out on one side of the street, and then the other side of the street, basically, it just carves out me and the mobile station is, we're in the new zone, and nothing else is, and I think that's kind of stupid too. I mean, to me, it would make more sense that the new zone allows, of course, housing, and it allows multi-use. It allows you to have a business on the first floor and a residence above, which we have a lot of that anyways. That was like, the buildings that are 80, 90 years old have that in them. A lot of them are like that, sub shops or whatever. But to me, it would make more sense if you went so many feet on each side of the street from the sidewalk. And I think that's how it used to be before how it is now, because that's how my place got built. That's how a lot of places got built. And then so you bring in the Salon 44, and you bring in a lot of the corporate design insurance. You bring all of them into conformity, because now they'd be in a conforming zone instead of being in a residential zone. And it would keep it away from, further back, which would do what a lot of you people want.
That would be a great step in the right direction, though. If they would do that, I would start coming back on board with this plan.
Okay.
Did you have your hand up over here, sir? No. Yes, Jay.
With all the new development, Mason Street area and all that out by the oil company buildings or whatever, how does that work with our water supply? I mean, we're putting more and more people in here, and they're saying that Wenham Lake is not able to supply us now. So then the fire department has to be increased with more people, and can we do all that?
Did everybody hear the question? The question was, if we were to lose our mind and adopt all of this affordable housing, and take our 7,000 new people to be in the city of Salem, how would that impact our water supply? Well, I need to tell you that Bruce Thibodeau, a couple of generations back, our city engineer, when I first became a councilor 9 years ago, one of my liaison assignments was to the Salem Beverly Water Supply Board. I went over there and I was told by Bruce Thibodeau in no uncertain terms that at 40,000 people, we better not take any more, because then we're going to go into serious drought conditions, and we are going to have no sprinkling of lawns, and none of that kind of stuff, all that kind of stuff, because there just simply isn't enough water to go around. All right, and it's getting worse, in case you haven't noticed. The other part about that, the flip side of that is, and a lot of things that people don't know, and there was one of the meetings we went to in Danvers, is we have two reservoirs. We have one in Lake, and we have Putnam Reservoir, but there's also a third land mass that we own that actually is cut in half by Route 1 over in the Thompsonville area where Honda North has its storage area. We own a place there where we can actually create a third reservoir, which would help us out a lot. Fortunately, the people have a lot of foresight, and they bought that with that very thing in mind. One of the things that we fought at the time, because I took over for Councilor Harvey when he lost his position here, but he told me to try to keep up the fight there to protect that water supply, because there's a lot of other cities that want to come into the Salem Beverly Water Supply Board. All right, there simply isn't enough water to go around. We take most of the water to fill these reservoirs from the Ipswich River, and the Ipswich River at times simply can't be drawn from.
Does the planning board take that into consideration?
No. That's a straight answer.
If you have to have a special permit, and a lot of